Hello, and welcome to Women in Tech USA's portion of this year's 24-hour world tour. My name is Lori Rodriguez, and I am the Chief Executive Officer for Women in Tech, Chief Digital Officer for Women in Tech, and author of the upcoming book, We Want You to Stay, The Hidden Lives of 20 Women in STEM. Did you know that over 11 million US students do not have access to the internet? 11 million students in the United States. Our youth and our future depends on solving this crisis. Today, you'll discover that wherever you are in your career life cycle, you have the power to help close the digital divide. We have an insightful, inspiring, and entertaining schedule for you for the next hour. First, we'll sit down with Heather Tortilla, Executive Director of Digital Wish, the subject matter expert on the digital divide. Heather and Digital Wish have been granting teacher wishes, working to close the technology gap for students for over a decade. She'll talk about the divide, what it is, and what it means for US students, for educators, for parents, and yes, even for corporations. She'll bring the topic to life with teacher and student stories and facts from their groundbreaking, sweeping survey of frontline educators. Next, Alex Wallach, Chief Operating Officer of JL Hubbard Gourmet and COO of Women in Tech USA, will introduce you to 8 women across all levels of the tech career life cycle. They'll each talk about how they personally are playing their part to solve one of the defining challenges of our time. Then we'll close it out with actions that you can take now to have immediate and lasting impact on closing the digital gap, as well as to help our youth become better equipped for our digital futures. With that, Heather, take it from here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. We have some really cool stuff to show you about. When COVID hit a year ago, it really shone a light on the digital divide. So what happened was COVID hit, schools closed down, all the kids got sent home, and those students who didn't have internet at home actually could not connect with their education, so they couldn't go to school. And so Digital Wish was at the heart of the matter. We're a nonprofit on a mission to solve the digital divide. And we were out there putting technology in schools and putting hotspots in schools. And when COVID shut schools down, all of a sudden we had this massive demand to get donated hotspots into the hands of those kids, because a lot of them weren't able to connect at all to their education. So the very first thing we did was a research study where we interviewed school districts and administrators that represented 10% of the schools in America. And we found that 11 million kids were without internet connections at home. Think about what that means for their families as well. The mothers who are working, all of a sudden they become the ad hoc school teachers. So it's a very female issue, the digital divide. A lot of people didn't actually know what the digital divide was when COVID hit, and digital divide was sort of a mystery. Let's take a look at a video, and we're going to actually define the digital divide and take a look at what that is. Let's bring that video up. Great. So anybody could donate at connectastudent.org to put a hotspot in the hands of kids. So at any point, go to connectastudent.org and donate to make a difference, and we'll donate hotspots to kids and put those kids back in school and back into their education. All right.
Hey, I have a question for you, Heather. So
Yeah.
now that schools are starting to open up, isn't that solved? Why do you need, why do you need the access now?
That's a great question. What's happening? There are a lot of people are asking this question. Are businesses ever going back to work? Are things ever going to be the same? Schools are one of those, call it an industry, that is never, ever going to be the same. There are a lot of students that they appeal to different learning styles. Some kids are auditory, some kids are visual, some kids learn better on computer. And what the schools are finding is that a lot of these kids actually are doing better using at-home learning, and those kids don't want to go back to school. And so online learning, by hook or by crook, has become a foundational piece of our educational system in a very short period of time. And now that schools are opening up again with the space restrictions, the social distancing restrictions, a lot of those kids are not going back. And the schools are, making it very clear that now school is an option in terms of at-home learning or at-school learning. So that means computer access, home access, devices, hotspots, all of that stuff becomes even more important now for the students who aren't going back. So,
You make a good point, because my kids have gone back, but they flipped the classroom. So the teachers are sending the videos in the homework or the classwork, what was traditionally lecture series. They're recording that, sending that home. And when they come to school, it's for one-on-one attention. So I guess I'd imagine that if you don't have access, you don't have access to, even when you're back in school, you still need to have access to the internet for those critical at-home materials that are being now sent home en masse to kids. Is that correct?
yeah, it's definitely correct. And a lot of schools have gone Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. So some kids are coming in 2 days a week and some kids are coming in 3 days a week. They're staggering the classes. And so what ends up happening is all of those kids need devices. Then they need some amount of time of in-person and hand-holding to get through some of their educational objectives that they just can't capture on their own. So I don't think in-person teaching is ever going to go away, but I also don't think now that this has happened, at-home learning and the homework gap are going to go away as well. So it's all going to be permanent. I'm going to share my screen now and show you some cool stuff that we've done over time. Digital Wish is on a mission to solve the digital divide. So we've been at this for years, about a decade now, solving the digital divide. And like we said before, 11 million students are actually lacking home internet access. So interestingly, when we did that study, right when COVID hit, to find out how many kids didn't have internet access, it was 11 million kids without home access, as well as all of their families. So if you really look at the data, it's about 21 million people who are left without connectivity at home. In addition to the kids, there's the family members, siblings, all sorts. So depending on what research study you look at, you can get numbers as high as 20 million, even higher. I've seen some that are way higher than that. So, so a lot of teachers were telling stories. They submitted their stories, and one of the more interesting stories that came back was from an Indian reservation. An educator on the Indian reservation said, one of her students came in and said, how am I supposed to send in my homework? Smoke signals. I don't have any internet connection at home. I don't have a device. A lot of the devices that schools sent out actually came back because without the internet connection at home, the devices were essentially useless to the students and the parents didn't want the liability. So a lot of times, even when they did get a device, schools would get sometimes 20–30% of those devices back. And so the parents and the teachers and everybody we talked to, they said, this isn't homeschool. This is crisis school because too many of our kids are going missing. So one of the things that came to light right when COVID hit was an incredible rise in the truancy rate. So truancy was at 5% before COVID hit, but when COVID hit, the truancy rates would go up over 11% on average nationwide. That means more than 1 in 10 kids are not showing up for school day in and day out. And a lot of schools, I've seen so many stories of schools going on a hunt for the missing kids where they'll actually go and visit the home to find kids, to find, who's out there who isn't connected. And one of the things they're finding is that because the parents can't work as well if they don't have an internet connection, or their jobs have shut down, or they're on unemployment, the kids have become the ad hoc babysitter and the ad hoc school teacher. So a lot of times it's the older sister, a lot of times it's the mom that has become the ad hoc school teacher, but the truancy rates have been incredible, so very high. They're calling it the lost generation. So it's a whole generation of kids who perhaps missed a whole school year of school now that with COVID coming through. And those kids, they're saying, are never going to be able to catch up that 1 year. So now if we roll that forward, we look at the impact on mom. We look at the impact on mom as school teacher. She can't keep her job because she has to educate her kids on top of trying to hold a job down. Maybe she doesn't have an internet connection and only one of the 3 siblings can get on at a time because it takes up too much bandwidth. There's all sorts of issues that are coming down. What we now have is a future workforce issue. And that is very important for everyone on this call to start to think about, is if this becomes a workforce issue, when does that rear its ugly head? Well, not today, but in 5 years, when those kids graduate and they've fallen behind and they don't have the technical skills they need. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we solve the digital divide? What is the solution? So you've got 11 million kids without internet connection. What we need to do is we need to look at devices. And Digital Wish was founded on the idea that we're not dreamers, we're not nonprofit executives, we are hardcore business people who understand supply chain and understand how to deliver huge amounts of hardware into the schools through supply chain and get those delivered. So we are partnered with all kinds of companies in the past decade, Verizon, Motorola, Dell, you name it. We've distributed 58,000 flipped camcorders in 20 months. We've distributed thousands of cell phones for Dell when they were back in the cell phone industry. So as COVID hit and we saw this incredible demand for hotspots, the first thing we did was go back to supply chain and shore up the supply chain and get huge quantities of hotspots reserved and ready to ship. So the solution is actually supply chain. The solution is hotspots. So we get a little hotspot, right? And we send it out to the kids and we send it out to their homes, and we can connect up to 15 people on one hotspot. The only thing that the parents have to do is put the password in. In fact, the kids know how to do that better than the parents in many cases. So this whole idea of, oh, we've got to train someone to get on the internet is false when you deliver a connected hotspot with 12 months of connectivity. So $240 will connect 7 million of those 11 million right now. And there's a 15 times multiplier of impact because we get all the family members and all the siblings as well. So what does that cost? Ask yourself, if I had to buy 7 million hotspots and send them out to schools, how much money do I need? Well, it's a mere $1.7 billion. So as we look at how do we raise $1.7 million to bring equity to 7 million students, how do we do that? So let's take a look. When do we do that? Can we do it this year? Can we do it next year? How does that happen? So we look at where we are today. Right now, the government money is just starting to trickle down through the CARES Act and through the Rescue Act. There's a lot of funding that is coming down the pipeline with COVID relief. So in the meantime, while we're waiting, we have to shore up those supply chains with private donation. And so right now, our main source of delivering hotspots to kids comes from corporate donations, private donations. So anybody who's on this call who has the capacity to do something like set up employee matching programs or set up corporate programs, then you can be a short-term and interim solution. As we look forward, some of the government funding is going to kick in, and it kicks in through different funds. So it's a combination of things. It's private partnerships, nonprofit partnerships, donations, corporate donors, individual donors, government money. There's all kinds of ways this needs to happen. There is no one single source that can happen, but we believe it can happen within the next 24 months by the end of 2022. So making a difference is a matter of finances, honestly. We've got to get $240 per hotspot, and we want to be able to donate those through to the kids. So just do the math. If you multiply by 240, how many hotspots can you donate? So it's pretty simple math to see how many households you can impact with a single hotspot, how many people you can impact. All right, so let's talk about solutions here. There are 3 programs that Digital Wish has right now that we can set up tomorrow. So the first one is called Regional Giving. Basically, we can set that up in 24 hours. Any corporation, anyone can say, here is some sum of money. So let's call it $10,000. So we divide by 240 and we come up with a number of hotspots that we have to give away. We call every school in the local area where your company has a factory, where you care about. If you're located in New York, great, we'll focus on New York City giving and we'll go straight there. So you basically draw a circle around your factory and then continue on, and we will get that money distributed or donated. Another way is to do corporate matching. And this is something that's very easy for us to layer on top of existing programs. So if you work with a larger corporation, they already have employee matching. You can see this website right here is an employee matching website. We can set this website up in about 20 minutes if we have that one piece of artwork and a paragraph of text. I can get that website set up and your employees can be donating literally today. And we can set up a text to donate word. So let's say your corporation is called XYZ Corporations. I can set up donate text XYZ to 707070 to donate. So you can donate off your cell phone. You can have a website to donate. All of that can be set up immediately. If you have an existing employee matching program, well, feature Digital Wish for 2 months. We had a company that featured us for 2 months in the month of February and March, 2 of the least giving months of the year. And they had more than half of their employees donate in those very low months because they featured Digital Wish. They actually pushed out videos internally and put them on their intranet. And they said, hey, employees, we're featuring Digital Wish. Yay, we're going to benefit these 7 communities where we have factories, the factories that are where you live and you care about. So we can layer over top of an existing employee matching fund and just be the feature and still set up a site and still have a tally and still have everyone yay rah around the cause. So, and then finally, the third way you can donate is through a Zoom telethon. We have a whole team of sports guys who go out and recruit professional athletes, and they can be male, they can be female. We've done WNBA players, we've done NBA players. We had D. Strange Gordon, the base stealing legend of the last decade. He's stolen more bases than any other baseball player in MLB. We put on a telethon. It's just like, if you ever saw the old Jerry Lewis telethon where Jerry Lewis comes on and goes, yay, rah, everybody give, and then back to the interview. So if you want to sponsor a telethon, we'll tell you who's coming up, who's on the docket, and your donation can be made directly through that telethon to the city that you care about. So those are the ways to donate. I'm going to skip ahead and talk about one more thing. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. If you set up a donation program, you have to also make noise around that. You have to be able to share that program with the world. We have a speaker called, his name is Jordan Bone, and Jordan Bone is a point guard for the Detroit Pistons, and he got drafted while he was a sophomore in college and continued to complete his education while being drafted and while playing up in the C leagues up to the majors. Well, he got to the majors, and on Mother's Day, his mom had thought that he had dropped out of college. He gave her the gift of graduation on Mother's Day to say, I did it, I graduated. And she thought that he was dropped out. And so he became a spokesperson for us, which is really neat because he really cared about education. So one of the things he did was make noise for us. And I'll show you, he actually took something called the pledge, and Jordan Bone took the pledge, and I want to show you his Pledge of Allegiance video that he made with a whole bunch of kids. Let's bring that up.
I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the nation, to close the digital divide, and to the students for which we stand, one nation, undivided, with equity and education for all.
Okay, so Jordan Bone took the pledge. You can take the pledge. Your employees can take the pledge. We had one of our corporate sponsors actually challenge all of their employees to take the pledge, and we created this really awesome pledge video where they all pledged to take the pledge to close the digital divide in their communities. So very simple thing to do. You can share them off on social media. But those are some of the immediate things that you can do. Lori, I'm going to throw it back to you now and continue on with some different stuff with Alex.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to life, Heather. It's so moving. Every time I see that video, I don't know, it's the mom in me. I just start to tear up. So I got a little choked up here. So really compelling data, powerful stories. And the coolest thing of all is you figured it out. Like, this is simple. You see 20 minutes, your organization can be up and running a corporate matching program. 24 hours, you get this, and you get to define where it is and who you want the money to go to. It's just remarkable. And then switching gears slightly is another way that we all can contribute. So, let's face it, for good or bad, we've all become dependent on technology. The pandemic has only accelerated that dependency. But as we all go about our daily lives, we may not see that we are leaving so many others behind. And it's a huge gap today. It's only going to get worse over time if we don't work on it, and that's the bad news side of the story. You just saw the great news, right? You've heard from Heather. This challenge is solvable, and it's solvable within 48 months, 22 months. It's by end of 2022. That is remarkable. When in your lifetime do you have the ability to just have that kind of impact for such a small bit of work? And Heather will come back and again tell us how we can each of us can solve that. But in the meantime, Alex, it's time for you to introduce us to 8 women who are already making a difference in their lives, whether they're graduate students all the way on through to executive management. So take it away, Alex.
Absolutely. And thank you, Heather. That was incredible. I mean, like Lori said, to make such an impact in such a short amount of time, how many opportunities do you get like that? And as we heard from Heather, bridging the digital divide is essential for creating equal access to opportunity, as well as personal and professional development, especially as we move into a tech-driven economy at an exponential rate. More and more jobs are going to require not only digital literacies, but advanced technical skills. And unless more women move into these fields, the gender digital divide is going to continue growing. Especially in fields in STEM and tech, which there's already a gap. Also contributing to the widening of the gender digital divide are the cultural norms that still play a large role in enabling stereotypes that technology is just for boys and men. When women are not encouraged to focus on STEM and tech, when women are not represented at all levels of leadership, let alone a diverse group of women being represented in leadership roles, it's discouraging for women wanting to enter or stay in the field. And we see this divide growing. And the focus of women in tech, and here in the US chapter, is bringing and making a tangible impact to close that digital divide. We provide a robust support system as well as programming for women in all stages of their STEM career life cycle, including those looking to transition into tech. And today we're going to cover the different stages within that career life cycle and hear from a few incredible women representing these different stages. And first up are going to be two amazing young women setting the example at their universities. And we can go ahead and take a look at that video.
As society becomes more reliant on technology, it becomes increasingly important that we close the digital divide and that technology is accessible for everybody. When we use our devices for everything from school, work, booking a doctor's appointment, or picking up groceries, it's important to consider the fact that 1 in 4 people in rural United States don't have access to broadband internet, and that's 15 million people who don't have access. But there is a lot that you can do to close the digital divide, because even one laptop and internet connectivity can make a world of a difference in a household. A message to women looking to join the tech industry: please do it. We need more people who are willing to bring their authentic selves. Don't fit in with the boys, because your female perspective is absolutely crucial in not only creating a more comfortable environment for other women to express themselves freely, but also because the products that we're developing are meant to be used by women as well. We live in a world where almost everything is designed for the ease of men, often at the expense of women. And I think that being in the tech industry really empowers you to facilitate those changes that need to be made.
Because I study criminality, and more specifically recidivism, or the people who reoffend and go back to prison after they're initially released, I can see what happens when people don't have adequate access to resources at different times in their lives. Especially today, access to technology is vital for education, and one of the first variables that we look at in my research is education level. If kids don't have access to the internet or have a computer at home where they can do their schoolwork or even just explore the internet and find out things that they would never learn in school, they're automatically put at a significant disadvantage. One of the best things I've ever been told is don't talk yourself out of rooms that you've earned the right to be in, and that is so true. You deserve to be in this field, and you've worked so hard to get there, so be there with confidence. Don't just be in the room for the meeting, make your presence known. Every person has something to bring to the table, so even if it's your first day on the job or if you're early in your career like me, be there with confidence and have confidence in yourself and your experiences. Women are often expected to downplay their accomplishments, but that's over. Celebrate yourself, be proud of yourself, and when you're nervous, just take a breath and remember everything that you did to get to where you are now. And then give that presentation, ask for that raise, and demand that promotion because you deserve it. And don't let anyone else convince you otherwise.
Awesome. Nisha made an
Great
excellent
advice.
point. Yes, absolutely. For closing the digital divide and the gender divide, to ensure we include all perspectives as we design what our world looks like moving forward, we need women to be authentically themselves, especially in male-dominated fields. And yes, Samantha, echoing that voice of confidence, to know that all women, we are capable of succeeding, and that now's the time to stand up and step in and take charge. Next up, we have Aurora. She is in the early stages of her career, but has already worked on the Commercial Crew Program in partnership with NASA that will take astronauts to the International Space Station. Let's hear from Aurora.
I think it's really important for girls and young women to see that other women can be leaders in technology, and that just they see that reflection back to themselves, so that they know that they too will be able to accomplish that if that's what they are inspired to do. My advice to other women who work in technology or are aspiring to work in technology is to always keep learning and developing their technological and soft skills. Don't be afraid to pursue new classes, find mentors, work on your weaknesses, take their advice on how to develop your career, and even try out different roles within your group and outside of your group. You're going to learn so much more about the company you work at or the products you develop, and you might find new roles that you're even more passionate about than the role you're in now. So it's all about just developing yourself.
Absolutely. Keep learning, develop yourself, upskill. That is excellent advice. Women in Tech US chapter, we're actually launching several programs this year, including a leadership skills program, creativity and innovation in technology, women in AI, and a mentorship program. Join, follow us, keep up to date on these program launches and how you can get involved. We'd love to have you. Next up are two incredible women who have made significant impact in their field as they traveled through their mid-career stages. Let's listen to them coming up next.
You have the power to do something and not just close the digital divide, but so many different things in your life, in your career, that you don't think that you have the power to do. The advice that I would give a woman entering this field or thinking about entering technology is that you as a woman have a superpower and you need to talk up that superpower. You can't be shy about sharing your accomplishments. You can't sit around and do great work and wait for great things to happen to you. You have to really take control of your career and share what you want and what you're doing to get there. I spent the first probably 13, 14 years of my career doing great work and not really sharing where I wanted to go in my career and what I saw happening in my career, my vision for myself. But the past 3 or 4 years, I started to share my vision of what I've wanted to do in my career, and it's completely changed the trajectory. I've started to fight for jobs that I really wanted and share where I see myself going and you know, my BHAG goals, my big, hairy, audacious goals, right? My BHAG goals for 5 to 10 years and what I see happening before I'd be embarrassed to do that. But you have to share what you want, not only internally, but with other people, because your manager, your executives, they can't read your mind. And that's something I wish I would have known, because I just thought to myself, well, if I do great work, I'm going to have a great career. But you really need to take ownership and do more than great work. You need to share that great work you're doing and share where you want to go in your career to excel and accomplish your goals.
So I love this theme this year of bridging the divide, because I think that for a lot of us who sort of enter into a field and find ourselves feeling kind of lonely or not seeing a lot of people who look like us, it can be daunting. And so I have definitely found myself at times thinking, okay, I just put all of this time into building a bridge over this gap space that I saw of being very kind and welcoming and creating an environment that felt good to be in, even though it took a lot of time, only to turn around and see that there's another gap space right ahead of me. And so now I have to build another bridge. But, you know, we never have to do these things together, but what we do have to do is sort of take a leap of faith. Because in building the bridges, we're actually crossing them at the same time, which defies physics. So we are building these bridges out over these gap spaces and crossing them all at once. And I would say don't look down, but I actually think that it's really healthy to look down in those moments, to stare down into the abyss and say, okay, I'm going to name you. I'm going to name what this is, because that's the first step to being able to contend with these gap spaces and these abysses, is to look them right in the eye and to say that we're going to deal with them. And so I think that it's really exciting to be able to do that in community. And there are always people willing to help build bridges, even though there will definitely be people who are wanting to take them apart piece by piece. So we just have to outnumber them eventually. I think some advice that I wish that I had gotten when I started getting into game design and technology was the idea that technology is a tool. And that it doesn't belong to anyone in particular, and that we all get to wield it. And so it's important to learn how to do that, and also to know that there's no right or wrong way to do that. I never thought that I would be building something that is a texting app and a journal and a choose your own adventure all in one. Certainly no one taught me that. Certainly I wasn't taught that technology could do that. And I certainly never thought that I would be putting that team together. And yet, you know, here we are. And so I think that it's important to remember that tech works for us in ways that only we can see, and that bringing your own innate creative brilliance to that is the right path. Absolutely. And to be able to follow that and also to name those scary uncertainties is really valuable. Yeah, I'll leave you with that. Thanks.
Just incredible hearing from those women. It's taking ownership. Don't wait for great work to be recognized. Really take that step and initiate yourself. Put yourself in the places to be challenged, and you will go far. Looking into that gap space and being willing to build a bridge while crossing over it. We shouldn't have to defy physics alone. Thank you, Jessica, for that image. Here at Women in Tech, we focus on building a full support system and access to a community that goes beyond just the technical skills. For example, we recently had a Women Helping Women workshop on negotiating your worth. I left that workshop feeling empowered and ready to take on the next challenge. And that's what our community strives to provide. Speaking of taking on the next challenge, next up is a hip hop dancer turned tech entrepreneur. So you'll want to listen to her story.
I'm Raquel Rise, a co-founder and chief creative officer of Cray, the most inspiring marketplace for outdoor adventures. I also serve as CEO of Creative Edge, a cutting-edge video production and media agency. I made my professional debut in the hip-hop dance industry over a decade ago. I built a successful brand and business leveraging social media videos for lead generation and client retention. This event's theme was something that I had only heard of but never really experienced. You see, in the dance industry, it's mostly women, and women serve in leadership roles and are represented and do pretty well in the industry. So when I made the transition into tech and video marketing, I started experiencing this divide firsthand. I think it's an incredibly important conversation to be having because although it might not be easy, we definitely have the power to close this digital divide. And I plan to be a big part of this shift. The one thing I wish for women who are considering going into the tech industry is to stop thinking that you need to know everything. We often think that if we don't have all the answers, that we are unfit for a role. Please. Let's just stop this nonsense already. Go in with confidence. Make the transition with confidence that you will do your best, but the humility that you will grow as you go. Good luck out there. We're counting on you.
What an inspiration. Every woman is capable of moving into tech. And in fact, coming from a non-technical field can, in some cases, be an advantage. And our next speaker is going to be speaking on that a little bit further. But whatever step you take next, go in it with confidence.
The most successful entrepreneurs in I think technology companies, if I were to use that word liberally, actually come from liberal arts themselves. So I would never discourage anybody who's looking for growing a career in doing machine learning. In fact, it's kind of probably a better suited career for a lot of those individuals who come from more creative thinking and a creative background. The last part, what I would have known, I wish I had early on mentors who were women in technology who could guide me. I mean, there's a lot that I learned on my own through ups and downs and going through choices that I made, which I guess I should have known better. But nothing against taking one way or the other, because it became more of a life experience, just like anything else that we see in life. But I believe we need more and more women in technology to be championing as role models across for younger women, for encouraging young women in schools, all the way in middle and high school, to really emphasize that it is exciting to be in technology as a career choice if they choose to go forward and not kind of shy away from it. Nobody needs to be boxed into a specific career or a specific type just because you're a woman. It's more for us to dream and dream big and go all for it.
My advice to women who are thinking of entering the field of technology would be that don't apply that lens that I need to be thinking like a man or a woman. It's not anything to do with that. It's everything to do with if you have ever built something in your life, if you want to build something in your life, if you have made things better, if you have improved outcomes on programs or products, if you've taken something from place A to place B and place B being better, then you can be in technology. What would I have done differently, or what advice? The only thing, because I'm built this way, I am built in a way that when I'm given a mission, I dive deep into it, like deep, and I forget everything else that's going on in the world. So my only advice would be that don't do that. Always reserve, I would say like 15% of your working hours, that 8 to 5, like 15% of that time to research latest industry trends in order to stay abreast of the major things that are happening in the world of technology. It is very important to be cognizant about and diligent and disciplined about carving out that 15% of your time to dedicate to reading up, to learning, to going to school on things that are moving faster than we could have ever imagined. That would be my guidance.
But the things that I'm most proud of where I've sort of challenged the norms. I've spent a lot of time working in inclusion and diversity and trying to help other women really challenge the limiting beliefs they have in their head about the role that they can play, for one, or two, the limiting beliefs that they're placing and displacing on organizations about what a certain role would look like. And so I had a call this morning with someone who said they sort of looked around and felt like they didn't belong. And we talked a lot about creating the view of what we think belonging should look like versus trying to fit and conform into the norm of what has been defined. And the call was super powerful for both of us. So I'm most proud of the moments when I can make that kind of an impact and think that somebody's actually able to hold their head up and be authentically themselves in context of their work. In terms of things I wish I knew, oh gosh, every experience is a learning experience and a growth opportunity. I wish I hadn't spent the first 15 years of my career trying to fit a norm. I wish I had been more confident in my strengths and gifts and what I was bringing to the table. Because I found the minute I decided to just be me, things happened. My career moved along, projects got assigned, I was able to speak to what I wanted. And so I think the one thing that I would just say is you are not alone in whatever limiting beliefs you may have in your mind. We find that the more we collaborate and talk about them, we realize that. And so have the power and know you have the power to change and be authentically you.
Absolutely. And hearing from those three women who have advanced in their career to, the mid-later stages, what words of wisdom. And Jennifer is absolutely correct. We are not alone in having limiting beliefs, but we are also not alone in breaking down those beliefs. Supporting and lifting one another, we can design a better world together. And I just want to thank these speakers so much, to all the women who graciously gave their time to speak at this event. I know I was inspired and moved by each incredible story. And I look forward to speaking with them further in the future. Lori, I'm going to throw this right back to you.
All right. Wow. My head's reeling. When they covered so many topics, I'm like writing down, as much as possible. I have to go back and review that. It's amazing the confidence and strength and insight from the younger stages. That was really interesting to me. And then all the way through the different perspectives, it's fantastic. And one thing I want to point out is that there was this notion of, we started off with digital equity and closing the gap for students, but as you can see, it's really important all the way through a career life cycle to have that digital access. So digital equity doesn't end at the classroom door. That's only the beginning. So again, back to Heather with her point of, one hotspot going to 15 family members, that's going to be brilliant. So Alex, I want to ask you, as you listen to the full stories of these 8 different women, what stood out for you?
I think what stood out for me was the recognition that there is in some cases, a lack of belonging, a feeling that in STEM and tech, women have to maybe adapt or fit into an existing mold or structure or cultural norms if you do enter these fields. But what was really exciting about all these videos is that there seems to be a very significant shift happening, a dedicated drive to break this mold and to create new spaces and create exactly the world that we want to be living in. And these women are at the forefront. And like you said, to see the young generation coming up and leading that charge from the beginning, they're not going to compromise and then learn the lessons later like maybe we've had to do. They're coming into it full force. And that was what was most exciting for me to see in these videos.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I agree. Tell us about your own journey though. You recently joined the leadership team of Women in Tech USA. Why? I mean, you clearly are a very busy career woman. Why did you do that? And how are you making it work with work and family and volunteering? By the way, you're amazing.
Thank you. I've always had a passion for the sciences. I'm an amateur astronomer myself. I'm raising 2 little scientists as much as I can. And I can see, like a lot of people can, how rapidly we're moving into a tech world, a digital world, tech-driven economy. And you don't want to miss that shift. It's going to be upon us in ways that we can't even imagine, and in every single aspect of our life. And I'm passionate about learning. I'm a lifelong learner, and this is my passion. So combining those things for me, it's a lot less like work and more like a mission. It's a purpose that I enjoy thoroughly. And I'm lucky enough to have a very supportive family. The flexibility to work from home means that 2 hours of commute a day, I have to now dedicate to volunteer work. So I'm doing my best, and on top of it all, having just an incredible team within the Women in Tech leadership, and being able to rely and lean on these women supportively when each of us have more flexibility than another is key to the success here.
That's awesome. So good to hear. Heather, well, let's hear about your journey a little bit. Take us back to a decade ago when you started Digital Wish, right? Like, some people were thinking about it, but like you jumped in, a decade ahead of the rest of us, and you were ready for the pandemic, which I'm so grateful for. What the heck was going through your head at that time? And honestly, what made you want to tackle this big, hairy, audacious problem that, think back 10 years ago, we didn't have cute little digital hotspots. Like, what was going on?
Well, back then, we were going to the schools and we were doing a lot of training. We had these incredible corporate partners who really believed in us. And it was interesting. When I think about coming up in my career as a female, I think about every boardroom, every conference room I ever went into. I'd look around and I would be like the stray female amongst men in suits. And that was my entire career for almost 20 years. It isn't until recently that we've had such a better female representation in technology. And so I had some very good mentors coming up. Olympus one of the top executives of Olympus, Dave Willard, actually took a strong interest in what we were doing, and they provided the seed money for developing Digital Wish as a startup nonprofit. And so we took a little bit different stance. It's called Digital Wish because the original website was built for parents and kids to write letters out to their local communities to tell them what they needed in the classroom. One of the things we realized was that there wasn't a computer for every kid in the classroom. And when you went to corporations and you went to families and you said, hey, there's no technology in the schools, they wouldn't actually believe you. They'd say, no, we don't believe that. There's definitely computers in the schools. What are you, crazy? And there wasn't funding from the government. There wasn't, so much of this. And so Olympus, being a technology company and a camera company, and they've got a medical imaging division, they took a bit and they said, we need to support this. We need to bring kids up with the technology they need. The only way we can do that is to tell everyone exactly what they need. And so that's what we did. It was like a wish listing thing. But I've always been like a big, hairy, audacious goal person since day one. If it's not a giant project, I probably don't want to be involved in it. I want to be involved in something huge. But what's interesting is when you watch the growth of Digital Wish over the years, we would have great partnerships and we'd expand out and we'd have 25 staff, and then we'd lose that partnership and we'd go down to 5 staff, and then we'd have another partnership and we'd go up to 15 staff, and we were only as good as our latest partners. And so we would expand and contract and expand and contract, all based on the market. Well, what happened with COVID was we exploded and we're back up, massive again. But what's different this time from the last expansion and contraction and serial entrepreneurship endeavors is that we actually believe we can solve the digital divide. We changed our mission. It used to be providing technology shortfalls in education, providing for those shortfalls. But when COVID hit, we switched to solving the digital divide because we could actually, for the first time in our entire corporate career, see a straight path through to finishing the problem. Most nonprofits are trying to help. We're not trying to help. Yeah. We want to finish, we want to solve, and then we need to go to the beach. I think
you got an exit strategy, right? After 10 years, you got 2 more years to go, and then you're done. Like, you want this done, check the box, and you're out. You want to retire and you see the end game in sight. And, everyone listening to this call, and you'll tell them as well, like, you can help. Like, just bring Digital Wish to your corporation. You see how easy it is, and get the funding going and help us reach that 1.7 billion. It sounds like a huge, huge number, and it is. I don't mean to downplay it, but if we all hear this message and just write an email to your HR department, your CSR, your ESG, whomever, go find somebody in your organization to send an email to, and Heather even has that for you. So you've
we can band together.
Very little work. You cut a check, she's got it going, it goes to the people you want, and you get the reports back. It's just an incredible process. I was going to ask you, I feel you can close this gap now, but you've clearly articulated that. So, tell me, what is the most important thing you want others to take away from all of the conversation you've heard today?
Oh, that's a huge one. Here's what we can take away. And that's that a lot of times, especially in female circles in the executive chain, you feel a little bit helpless or powerless. And that's one of the things I've seen rising up in my career, is that if I looked at being a female as a disadvantage, if I had that perception in my mind, then it was a disadvantage. But all throughout most of my career, I said, no, I'm going to turn this on its heels. I'm never not going to be the only woman in the room. I said that was my opinion early on in my career. So either you get used to it or you get out. If you don't like it, there's no middle ground. So you have to learn to deal with it. And one of the things that I did very early was I said, I am female. I am going to be the only female in the room for a while, and it's changing now, but back then, seriously.
For those of us old enough.
Yeah, I'm showing my age. So I said, what I have to do is I have to turn that to my advantage. And that's what I did. And I started wearing nicer clothes. And I tried to always be the best dressed person to walk in. I tried to fix my hair and be pretty or be exciting or have more passion than the next person. I didn't want to be this old female in the room. I wanted to be this someone who sucked the breath out of the room because I had these big ideas and this big passion for, you know, solving the digital divide or whatever it was, my current project. And if that's what you have to do as a female is you don't want to look at the female male issues. What you want to look at is the passion issues. Are you passionate about your cause? Can you go get that bigger than anyone else? Can you go charge at that full force? Well, that's going to get you somewhere. So everybody who's on this call, I will say to you, with the digital divide, you have 100% power to make a difference right now.
Yeah. Like Twinkle said, right? One of our last speakers, she was like, you focus on outcomes, you know, focus on outcomes, and everything sort of starts to fall in place when you take all your passion and head towards the target.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways you can solve the digital divide. If you have an employee, if you have an HR department, go and get them to feature Digital Wish in employee matching. If you can do the pledge, do the pledge. If you can set up a regional give, do that. If you have someone, does your dad work for Boeing? Go call dad, right? The stories that come back from the parents who can barely keep their jobs because they have had to become mom for 1, 2, 3, 4 siblings, and they can't get an internet connection, and the kids are running through their meetings and because they don't have childcare. I mean, there's such a female issue, the digital divide. If we band together, you know, we can fix it.
Yeah. So. And you know, what's one thing that I found as well is, you know, while it is predominantly a female issue, part of that is because this gender disparity that happens in the career. So when you get to the point when there are children involved or life gets complicated, elder care, etc., often the spouse that was male or, you know, tends to have, you know, if this is the income gap, right? The male's here because he started higher and got that first promotion. And as the 10 years go by, it's like this, and it becomes an economic decision. So while it's still, it is predominantly a female issue, it's not necessarily because we're female, it's because of the environment with which we have grown up in and that we find ourselves. And that gets back to some of the career advice that the women were giving on how you stay in tech and how you fight through this, because we need you here to design products. We need you here as role models, you know, and solving this digital equity and solving this issue for the technology divide is going to also help women stay in technology as well. So why don't you bring this home, Heather, and you tell us, you know, what are some calls to action? What can people do tomorrow or tonight when this closes, or before they even hit, or before they even, you know, before the show's over even? What are some things that they can do?
Okay, I'll show you a bunch of things. The first thing you can do is, if you have an internet connection, go to connectedstudent.org and make a donation. Donate $5, $10, donate $240. That'll put one hotspot in a home, and that will connect up to 15 people for an entire year.
That's I did that 50. The minute I met you.
Yeah, you did. That's the first thing. In came a donation for $240 from Lori. I was like, yes. So these are the 3 programs. These are our 3 action items that can be set up within 48 hours. So the regional give, just tell us how much and where you want to give. And if you have any restrictions, like I'd like it to go to minorities, I'd like it to go to low income, I'd like it to go to, you know, some specific equity issue, perfectly fine. Let us know what that is, and we will set our calling team on doing that. Do corporate matching. If you already have an employee matching program, just feature us. You know, if you feature us, your employees, just by having a featured nonprofit that everyone can rally around, you will get so many more of your employees to donate, so many more. So if you have an employee matching program, go and get Digital Wish featured for 2 months. We'll give you all the artwork you need to set it up, to do intranet, your internal marketing, all of that, social media assets. We'll produce all that stuff for you and deliver it to you. Or if you want to sponsor a telethon, just decide on how much you'd like to sponsor, and we'll let you know when the next telethon is going to be. So let's skip ahead a little bit. And this is something that everyone can do right now, is take the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the nation to close the digital divide, right? We can all take the pledge, we can record it, we can put it out on social media, and we can rope our friends in. One nation, undivided, with equity and education for all. That's what we're about. So if there's something I can encourage everyone to do, it's take the pledge, make a donation. If you have any power within any corporation, get them to jump on board. Let's benefit the kids in your community. Let's fix the problem where you live, because it's a very local problem. So.
Well, and a problem that we can solve. And I believe, Heather, that you are going to be a key person to helping solve that. And what I don't believe is that you're going to retire afterwards. I believe you're going to come up with another very audacious goal. And you know what? You got some good partners right here.
I'm in. I'm totally in. Well, thank you, Heather and Alex, and all the women who contributed today, and everyone who watched. I still find, I've heard this a million times now, I still find it eye-opening. I also find it really refreshingly actionable, right? It's not just this concept out there that you can't do. Like, you give us tangible actions, So thank you also to our dear audience for spending part of your precious day with us. I don't take that lightly. And of course, our hope is that you will join us on this journey to ensuring digital equity for all. And as you saw today, with your help, we really can close this U.S. digital divide in just a few more years and get Heather onto the beach, I guess, as part of it, as a reward for a decade-long, journey. So thanks, everyone. Be well, and bye for now.